Greetings and welcome to the ROI Clear podcast. My name is Ray Hightower, and today we are honored to have as our guest Mr. Colby Fryar. Colby is an engineer. He holds bachelor's and master's degrees in engineering, and he is a multifamily real estate investor, in addition to running some other entrepreneurial pursuits that we'll ask him to tell us about today. Colby's a wonderful guy. He's a good friend. We're working together on some deals here in Arizona. And I would like to present to our ROI Clear audience, Mr. Colby Fryar. Welcome, Colby.
Thank you, Ray. Good to be back.
Yes, yeah, glad to have you here. Very, very glad to have you here. Colby and I are part of a group every Friday morning at 6:55 a.m. We get together with a bunch of other multifamily investors and we encourage each other, hold each other accountable. That's at azmm.org if any of you want to check that out. So we do it early morning, 6:55 a.m. Phoenix time, because we got stuff to do and we're done by 8 a.m. and we're off with our days. So always good to see Colby. We're recording this on a Friday, so we just finished that call, and now we're doing this one. So glad to have you here, Colby. To kick us off, why don't you give us an elevator pitch? And I'll say this to those people who are new to ROI Clear. Colby is on an elevator with someone he wants to influence. So we'll ask you, Colby, what would you say to that person in the course of an elevator ride?
Yeah, so we invest in multifamily properties, 50 units plus, and our goal is to help our passive investors achieve the greatest results and returns that they can, and just to help as many people as we can, whether they invest in our deals or not. That is really our goal through our meetups and all the different interactions that we have on a daily basis.
Yes, wonderful. And you do run a great meetup there in Tucson, Arizona. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's called the Tucson Multifamily Meetup. I started it probably 2 years ago, right before COVID. I think we met once in person, and then we ended up having to go online for about a year, which was cool because I got to bring in people from all over. But as soon as things got a little better, we went to in person, and it's been awesome. It's been one of the greatest things I've ever done. Kind of got really honestly, it got me out of my shell and got me kind of going down the road of multifamily investing. That was really the thing that started it, the whole ball rolling.
Being there at the front of the room, being the center of attention will certainly get a person out of their shell.
Absolutely. I was kind of all by my lonesome down there in Sahuarita where I live, and doing my thing, and really didn't have much interaction with people in the business until I started down that journey, and it's just kind of led me in a lot of different directions now, which is really cool. How I got to meet you and be a part of your Friday meetup and all that. So
yeah, that's how we got to meet each other. And I've been to your event in Tucson a few times there. I'm a few hours away from you. I'm up in Goodyear, but it's what I like about it is the people that you attract. You attract people who want to have discussions, who want to have conversations, and everybody's helping each other. You know, if there's competitiveness, it's competitiveness directed against solving a problem, not against other people. And that's the vibe that I get from your meetup. So I would encourage any of our listeners, if you operate in or around Tucson, Arizona, you know, Colby's in Sahuarita. If you're in Tucson, Green Valley, Sahuarita, Sierra Vista, anywhere in that part of Arizona, I would encourage you to check out Colby's meetup, and we'll include a link to that in the show notes.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for that, man.
Yeah, we'll make sure.
It's always been a joy having you come down, and we have Ray as our returning speaker few times a year, so
okay,
it's been really cool.
Glad to do that. Let's dig into a little bit about your background. You have a fascinating background in that you have not one but two engineering degrees. You have a bachelor's in agricultural engineering and you have a master's in engineering as well. Tell us how does a man with engineering in his background decide to go into multifamily investing?
Yeah, that's a good question. It all happened probably around 2013 when we started in single family, looking at little properties here in Tucson. Kind of after the big crash, there was still some of those foreclosures and things available. And my wife, I think, was kind of the one that spurred me into it at that time. She was looking in neighborhoods and saying, "Hey, that's a cute little house. I think it's for sale."
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of got that whole thing rolling. But really, what really did it was I was kind of getting a little bit tired of my job,
Mm.
and I was looking for something else. And I happened to be in the library one day, and I came across the book Second Chance by Robert Kiyosaki.
Hmm.
And it's his second one. It's after Rich Dad Poor Dad, which everybody knows.
Yes.
But that book just like blew my eyes open at, and I I could not believe with my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, that I had no idea about money whatsoever. And that book really opened my eyes and told me, hey, there's more out there than just a job. You don't have to work for somebody the rest of your life and invest in your 401k and your retirement. You can
Right.
actually start doing something on your own. And so that was probably the turning point really in my life. And that's how I got started. But very appreciative of my engineering background. And that's, we have to start somewhere, and that was my path,
Right.
with doing the engineering, and it's sort of set me up now to do this business, having the project management skills and the construction management skills and all those things you need to be a good asset manager on properties, and the underwriting. I mean, spreadsheets and all those things that I've been good at just in my natural duties. Now I'm
Right.
applying that to multifamily.
Mm-hmm. So certainly growing up, you had a natural aptitude for numbers and analytics and detail. The engineering degrees certainly built upon that, gave you an even firmer foundation. And now shifting into multifamily, you find yourself drawn to underwriting, project management, construction management. Those are, I think we could make a good argument. Those are very key areas where the money is made on the deal. You got to underwrite right, because, you and I have been in the middle of deals before where we get excited. Oh, I really want this. And there's somebody on the side, I really want this. And then, the sellers are counting on that. They want a little bit of that auction hype, and it's the underwriting, I think, that pulls us back. But I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah.
This is your interview, so I don't want to say too much,
No,
but what
exactly
role
right.
is underwriting playing for you, and what role is your attention to detail playing for you when you acquire properties?
Yeah, I think it's been critical, like you said. I think it really helps to put the emotion aside and really focus on the numbers,
Yeah.
because it's a numbers game, and I think that's really helped us from the very get-go. It kept us out of some trouble on some deals.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's held us back a little too on some things we probably should have gone forward on, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, I think that's been key. And the construction on our Las Cruces property, 123 units. We were in such a state that had I not had that skill set, we would have been in real trouble.
Mm-hmm.
In real trouble, because we dropped to 60% occupancy on that property.
Really?
Yeah. 60 is 65.
Right. Either way, that's a very big drop. Yeah.
Yeah, it started out 100%. Of course, it was filled with every kind of miscreant you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cash flowing because a lot of that was government assistance. But of course, when you go in and the new sheriff's in town and you take over a property, and then with COVID and everything going on, we just lost a bunch of people real fast.
So hold on for a moment. You went down to 65% occupancy pre-COVID.
I think it was 20. So we bought in 2021, late 20 or early 21. Early 21.
Okay, you were in COVID when this happened.
We
Okay.
were right in COVID, yeah.
Right. Okay.
And so it was tough to get people out. It was tough to evict. We had to get, obviously the people that were problems, we had to get them out on breaking the lease. Couldn't get them out for not paying.
Right.
And so that was the strategy that we used.
Yes.
And we had that honestly wasn't a real problem because we had so many bad characters that they just had to be moved out.
Right,
And
right.
thank God the judge that was a key. We had some good judges there in those courts. They said, yeah, this guy's a problem, this girl's a problem, they gotta go. So
Yeah. But that's got to be a lot. And in doing, how many units is this property?
123 unit,
Yeah.
and it's a
Okay.
portfolio, so it's a little bit spread out within a
Right.
square mile, which was
Yeah.
challenging in itself.
Okay. And who do you have managing the day-to-day there? What
We have
company?
a property manager there, third party,
Oh, you have a third-party property manager.
JL Gray.
Okay, got it. Got
And we
it.
have an excellent PM on site there
Mm-hmm.
during the day helping us with that. Uh, it just got to the point where a property manager, they're there to manage the property, and they do some construction stuff, but they don't do it to that extent. And,
Yes.
and so that was kind of my job, was to go in there and take over that
Right.
when it got real tough. And then so I think I had three or four contractors all going at the same time to pull us out of that hole. And by Octoberish, we were seeing the light, and now it's been awesome. We're over 90%. So
You were doing a bunch of road trips back and forth to make
yeah,
sure that
remember?
yeah.
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 Sometimes every week, but at least every couple of weeks. Yeah.
That was right around the time that we met, I think, because
Yep.
you were on the calls. Sometimes you'd be doing the call from New Mexico, sometimes from Arizona. We never knew where's Colby, almost like where's Waldo. Remember that book with the
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah.
Those were some trying times, some stressful times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Getting down to that. But you know what? I would argue if you were able to go down to 60 or 65% occupancy and hold on to the property, you must have done a remarkable job of underwriting that up front.
We did. And we had a good manager that told us, this is what's going to happen
Yeah.
with this property. You're going to lose this many people.
Yes.
And they were right on target.
Wow.
Right on target.
Because they're boots on the ground. They're there every day. They know the market. Yeah.
They knew when they saw it, and they walked it with us.
Yes.
What we were getting into.
Let's back up for a moment. If you don't mind, I would like to dig deeper into this deal because this is fascinating. It's fascinating to me because with any business, anybody can talk about the times in their business. Oh, everything was just rosy and, smooth sailing all the way around. But you and I both know as entrepreneurs, it's never smooth sailing all the way around. The waves get rough. Sometimes you're bounced around like a ping pong ball in the middle of the ocean. And as entrepreneurs, we have to decide, how are we going to navigate these waves? Which direction are we going to trim our sails in? And how are we going to get through so we don't end up at the bottom of the ocean? So clearly you've come out of this successful. And if it's all right with you, I'd like to drill down in this deal a bit because I think our listeners would be fascinated with it as well. Does that work for you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd love to talk about it. Yeah.
So let's talk about it. The acquisition. How did you first become aware of the deal, and when did you decide you were going to pursue it?
So it was summer of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
We became aware, and
Yes.
it was through a broker that has an office in New Mexico. They're also here in Tucson, and I had developed a relationship with them. Gone to
Mm-hmm.
lunch with them. They do a few deals here, but they're mostly kind of in the commercial office space. But they do some multifamily.
Yes.
And it was through that relationship that this came about, and from them knowing that I was from New Mexico, had actually gone to New Mexico State. I think that played a big role in it because they knew I
Yes.
knew the market
Yes.
and was familiar with it. And so when the property came up through their New Mexico office, they came to me and
Mm-hmm.
said, "Hey, would you be interested in this?" And we had just closed one in Albuquerque, and it seems like they come in bunches for some reason in this business. But
Yeah.
we jumped on it soon after that.
Okay, so you were introduced to it by a broker that is in New Mexico and also in Arizona. You had established a relationship with them because you have a history in New Mexico, having grown up there, and you went to school there. And they called you because they knew you were a serious operator and that you would be in a position to take it down.
Yeah, and we were definitely interested in Tucson, really. That was our primary focus. But
Yes.
to have this size of deal come up and be available and have the opportunity to do that, it was just, yeah, we got to do it. We
Were you
building our
even
team.
looking at New Mexico? Were you looking at New Mexico at all before this deal?
Albuquerque.
Albuquerque, you
we
were,
hadn't
yes.
necessarily looked a lot at Las Cruces before that,
Right.
but yeah.
And you took a look at the deal. The numbers looked interesting. What was your first impression the first time you went on site of the property?
My first impression was that it was a little older property, but it looked like it had good bones. The exterior looked decent enough that it was taken care of.
Yes.
And relatively quiet. I didn't see a whole lot of issues. I think when I first saw the property, you can't see what's going on inside, obviously.
Right.
But did see some, I think maybe there was a broken window or two. That was a clue.
Yeah. Broken window theory. Yes. Yeah.
Some people walking down the street that were a clue.
Yeah. All right.
Some of those things that, when you're first starting out, you don't really dial in on it like you should,
Yeah.
And then maybe the traffic in and out of units. I think I would have probably noticed that more.
Yeah.
But didn't see a lot of that, I don't think, my first trip, but I did
Right.
see it in subsequent trips after that. Started to see some of that.
Right. So you're there on site, and then you took your property management firm to walk the property with you, or did you do that during due diligence? Did you do that during the initial walkthrough, or?
I think we did that. It was before contract. I was there. Yep.
Yeah. All right.
We walked it with the property manager.
Yes.
And her first reaction was, "Oh my." That should have been a clue. Oh my.
Oh, wow. What a property manager who's boots on the ground and has seen some stuff says, "Oh my, there it is,"
There it is.
But
Yep.
you're the brave Colby Fryar, and you're on in there.
Yeah. That was a really good clue. And I just talked it through her with her. I said, "So what are we looking at here?" And she said, "You've got some real issues." So we've got some real issues here.
Yeah.
And she said, "We can do it, but it's not going to be easy." And
What were the issues?
Exact conversation, but it was to that effect.
Yeah. In addition to the tenants that you cited, who was walking in and some in and out traffic in the units, what were some of the issues you noticed?
Yeah, and that was the other thing she noticed. I think we walked a couple of units and just how dated they were and how little maintenance had been done. You could tell there was a lot of deferred maintenance.
Yep.
And I think she honed in on that right away, and she said, "Oh man, this one's going to be a lot of work, a lot of work." So in addition to the tenants, deferred maintenance, those were the big ones. And with the broken windows and the traffic, she could tell there was issues going on. And then the big thing too was, you can always tell when there's couches and stuff on the balconies and people hanging out, outside, and they've got their stuff out there, and there's not a real strict enforcement for what they keep outside and what they keep inside.
Yeah.
Those were big clues.
Yeah, couches and the balconies. I'm thinking, why aren't you at work?
Absolutely.
To make the money so you can pay your rent. Okay, there we go. Most of the tenants there, where are they employed? Nearby, or what's the employment base there?
It's a lower income demographic that we have.
Okay.
They're working in the restaurants and the auto shops, and it's workforce housing.
Yes.
We do have a lot of subsidized income as well, and we're with different programs. We've got Section 8, we've got charities programs that we're working with that help some of those folks out.
Right.
They had a lot of those tenants before, but I think the big difference was they weren't really doing the background like they should have on them, and they weren't watching those folks they were getting in from some of those programs that were really abusing. And honestly, they were putting homeless in there, and they were just
Oh,
squatting in the units and destroying them.
just pretty much putting bodies in the units to say they
Just
had occupancy.
just say 100%,
Yeah,
and
but
they're getting the funding,
okay.
so that obviously wasn't a problem, but it's just not sustainable. You can't have that kind of tenant base and have any kind of stable operation going. Just
Right. How
destroying
about
the
the
property.
Yeah. This is true. We need to do a better job of that across the
And
board.
tenants don't want to live next to people that are doing drugs and traffic in and out and
Yeah,
all those kinds of things, It's just hard
yeah,
to get anybody to live there.
right. Once you get one, it's hard. Yeah. What about the physical condition of the property? What did you notice there, or what did you gather there during DD?
So one of the big lessons we had was we missed, it seemed like everything was really good, but we missed the balconies. We were so focused on the units and the paint and the exterior of the building and the parking lots. We didn't look at the balconies.
Mm.
And I don't even think our inspector looked at them, to be honest with you.
So what was the issue with the balconies?
They were failing, and not all of them, but a lot of them, the beams were twisting underneath
Yeah,
because there was too much weight on them. And what we had a structural engineer looked at it, and it was actually the weight of the stairs was pulling down, and they hadn't supported the stairs properly.
okay.
So we went in there and we got some crazy quotes from a couple of contractors that wanted to rip out the whole thing. And,
Yeah,
and what it came down to was just resupporting those stairs, replacing a lot of the posts that were supporting them with new ones, and rotating that. I had very fortunate to have a friend that lived there that's a contractor, friend of the
yes,
family.
yes.
He did a phenomenal job at a very reasonable price, and
Okay.
just did what it took to correct the situation. And that was one of the big things we missed. So
Yeah, yeah.
and was should have been in our CapEx budget from the start.
But you caught it, and yes, all right. When did you realize that you had turned the corner, that you were going to be able to make this work?
Probably October of 22. So earlier. We were
Okay.
feeling pretty good. Like, hey, at least the property's cash flowing. At least we're able to cover the mortgage. And we can afford to even do a little bit of CapEx and those kinds of things to keep the units going.
Yeah,
So,
wonderful.
still not out of the water, but we felt pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
And the loan, we had a great loan.
Yes.
We were able to avoid getting a bridge loan. We got a seller carry note with 4% interest.
Okay.
And that's been really key, because I cannot imagine what that would have been like going with a bridge loan.
What was the LTV on the seller carry?
75.
Wow.
Yeah.
Colby.
Pretty, on these size of deals, especially at that time, it was pretty unheard of.
Yeah, well done, man. Well
it was
done.
really the thank you for that, but it was really the seller's only option, because a bank wasn't going to finance it with multiple properties and no financials. The owner wasn't willing to provide financials on the property, which seems crazy.
Shoebox full of receipts,
manual ledgers.
Oh,
we had to beg, borrow, and steal to get about 6 months worth of data.
Yeah.
And he was mad that we got it after that, but
wow.
He was mad at the property manager for giving it to us.
Okay, well, the property manager knew that some improvements needed to be made.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
And so throughout this, what would you say when you look back on this project? This is fascinating to me. Just 123 units, some rough things that you had to deal with. You got 75% owner financing. That's remarkable. 4% Yeah, at a time when seller financing wasn't very common. It's starting to happen right now, as you and I know, but that wasn't common back
Yeah,
in
and the other thing was you
2020.
could get a bridge loan for 3.25%. So we were thinking, oh my gosh, 4%, man, we could have done better than that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
And
in
now we're
hindsight,
looking
looks
back
good.
going, oh wow, we really that was really the grace of God, honestly.
Yes,
Just
yes, indeed.
just helped us through that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So of all of the hurdles that you've dealt with on this property, and certainly there will be more hurdles, but you're out of the weeds. It looks like you've turned the corner. What would you say about this property makes you the most proud?
Um, I think it's just knowing that tenants can go there now and feel safe, and that they can live that they have a nice, clean place with new flooring and new paint and
Yes.
and a new working appliances and plumbing that's not constantly leaking.
Mm-hmm.
And just a nice place to live, and they don't have to worry about the guy next door who's going to stab somebody or whatever,
Yeah.
or have a shootout. Literally one of our properties was it was kind of a hard thing to take, but I was visiting one day and a police officer literally told me that we had the worst. One of those 7 properties was the worst one in Las Cruces.
Oh my goodness.
I about fainted.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was the one we literally had to move everybody out of. I mean, we should have we did it piecemeal, but thinking back, if we could have just condemned that thing and got everybody out, it would have been the best way to go because it was so bad.
Yeah. So you got everyone out, you improved it. What's it like now? What's that property like now?
Unbelievable. Night and day, and it's one of the first ones that we painted,
Yeah.
and the parking lots look really, really good. And you walk by there, and yeah, you still have, some of the neighborhood passersby, but the property's quiet, and it's just a totally different story.
Got to bring that officer back for another eval, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's so important to have those relationships with the police too. I think no matter where you're located, I think it's good that you have that kind of relationship with the police, that they tell you what they think or what they notice. Because how are we as owners, how are we as landlords and as operators and as syndicators going to take action if we don't get info, if we don't get intel? So it's good that you were able to establish that relationship.
Yeah, and should have done it much earlier, but we did, and that helped us get through a lot of those evictions and the squatters and all those things that were real tough to get out of there.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
We hired security. I think we had security for over a month,
Mm-hmm.
and that was pretty key as well, just to
Yeah.
help
Yeah.
people. It was really for our property manager's sake, so they could feel secure walking the property and going in.
Right. Yeah, you got to take care of your on-site managers. They're the first line of contact for our customers, our residents, right? So we got to take care of them.
Yep. Oh God, so critical.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're coming towards the end of our time together. I'm grateful to talk to you. I'm glad we were able to do a deep dive into that property in Cruces, because it's fascinating. I mean, kudos to you for the way you've been able to turn it around, and I'm sure you still have other improvements in mind. You're not one who just rests on your laurels. So I know you have ideas for other improvements in mind. As we wrap, what is it that you're reading now or listening to now that you would like to share with our listeners and viewers?
Yeah, I'm listening to Steve Burgess's book on apartment investing. It's kind of one of the standards out there, but I thought, I hadn't read that one.
Yes.
And some cool podcasts as well. I like Ken McElroy's podcast.
Yeah.
And then there's a new one I found, Money Mondays, is really good. Dan Fleischman, I believe. He has some really, inspiring guests, entrepreneurs, kind of like yourself and I, that are doing well. These folks are doing some really cool. And I think he had the DJ Irie from Miami. The
Mm-hmm.
last one I listened to. What a cool story that was. How the
Mm-hmm.
guy got started and where he is now. It's unbelievable. But love that podcast.
Solid. So yeah, you're clearly listening to and reading some things that are inspiring you. So that's beautiful. And finally, Colby, how can people get in touch with you?
Colby at mountainbridgecapital.com is my email handle, and then mountainbridgecapital.com is my website, and I've got a free ebook on there, 7 reasons why we love investing in apartment buildings.
Okay. So to our listeners and viewers, please make sure you go by mountainbridgecapital.com, get that free ebook. Colby Fryar, it has been a pleasure speaking with you today on ROI Clear. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you. Appreciate your friendship and getting to know you more. And it's been awesome. It's been a wonderful journey.
Thank you.